So here we are in Christmas 2025, in the middle of this 50-year cycle of planetary change, and I thought I'd reflect a little upon where we are from my perspective. And so I love that quote by Tagore that says, "Faith is a bird that feels the dawn breaking and sings while it's still dark." I feel like we're at that point in the cycle of planetary initiation where we need faith, and I think the last 5 years since 2020 has been a real test of faith. I know for me, feeling the war in the Ukraine, the political system, Gaza in particular, has been so hard on our collective heart to think, oh my God, how can we be here again? How can we be here as humanity again? Like, have we learned nothing? Like, where is the love that has been evolving over time? Why do we fall back into these old patterns? And so I feel like that crisis of faith has been strong, and it's normal for this period right at the end of the emergence period to be testing, to be deeply testing, because the deep karma that is unresolved, the planetary trauma that's unresolved from the past comes up, and certainly it has been coming up. And it both purifies, but also it can bring that element of despair. So there's another quote by T.S. Eliot that I love that is on the Gates of Haydn, that's about the dark night of the soul and about how to negotiate that journey. And he says that, "I said to my soul, be still and wait without hope, for hope would be hope of the wrong thing. And wait without love, for love would be love of the wrong thing. There is yet faith, but the faith and the hope and the love are all in the waiting." The faith and the hope and the love are all in the waiting. So we're in that stage of waiting for emergence, waiting for the light to break in the east, waiting for the world soul to show itself. And so this period of 2025 and my tradition marks the end of the stage of the forerunner, where we're in preparation, and the beginning of the emergence. So in Christian terms, it would be the return of the Christ, the externalization of the world soul, the coming again of the Anima Mundi, like whatever frame you have, whatever religious or spiritual tradition, it's the emergence of the principle of love that lies behind all things into our experience and expression. So this idea that love is coming out, and it's been coming out for a long time, but it's been meeting the resistances and the headwinds, and now for the first time that love should have the wind behind it. So we should be in a period where we can start to feel the love that lives at our core, that we've been struggling to stand for, to express, to make manifest in the world. It should have a perceptible support. So in this 50-year period between 2000 and 2050, this period of 2020 to 2030, that's like the epicenter. And 2020 to 2025 is the last dregs coming up. And 2025 to 2030 should also be still a time of crisis. But within that crisis, we should be able to feel, to taste, to sense the emergence of love, rather than the breaking down of the things that need to be broken down. Something should start to show forth. And so that's why Eliot says that love is love of the wrong thing, and hope would be hope for the wrong thing. That when we're in a crisis of emergence, that the techniques and the practices of the past don't work, And we're waiting. We're waiting until something new begins to break forth inside of us. We're waiting in a religious terminology for revelation. We're waiting for something that transfigures us, that breaks us open to something new. The energy that arrives when we had given up hope for salvation in the ways that we know, given up our faith in love, but holding faith. And what that faith that we're holding in is that it's a friendly universe, that there is a matrix of love and intelligence underneath all things, whether you call it God or whether you call it Einstein's friendly universe, but that something will break through and open us to a new way. And as the soul emerges, it emerges and reveals deeper and deeper aspects of love. So 2,000 years ago, the Christ principle, emerged in Christianity, for example, through an individual, Piscean, that was a savior for humanity. And now as that principle of love is emerging, it's emerging much more in an Aquarian model, which is like simultaneously all over the world, millions of people, whether it's in the Christian church, they're undergoing born again experiences, whatever religion, whether you're outside a religion, that principle of love, which is universal, that breaks through in the human heart and comes in however we understand it, whatever our mental understanding or ideology about it is, it's actually a phenomena that is experienced in the heart, like a greater love is emerging. And that love has a deeper flavor with each time that it emerges in the human spirit. And this time, even beyond the human spirit, like one of the challenges is to not make our own salvation as humans the center of the universe, but like the Christ principle as the anima mundi is not just for humans, but it's the soul of the earth. And so it involves the love that underlies the forests and the oceans and the whales and the mountains. Like all of that is forcing humanity to like expand from being anthropocentric, where humans are at the center and God-given world that have dominion over the planet, to a greater expansion of love, so that actually the whole of the earth is at the center of love, and humans are a part of that. So whenever a deeper principle of love emerges, it includes what was before, but includes it in a broader frame. So one thing we could look for as that Christ principle emerges is an increasing unified experience of the love that is for the whole earth, that is beyond just our species. And when we talk about accountability and trauma, like our species to be accountable to the next level that it belongs in, like our species belongs on the earth and it has enormous impact on the earth. And so a growing sense of accountability for that impact and a growing sense of love as a motive will allow us to meet some of the environmental crises from a new way, not from fear that humanity is going to be destroyed, but actually love, because we are experiencing ourselves as being part of a larger participatory universe. And then, of course, the next thing that's coming with extraplanetary intelligence, whether it's the 3i Atlas coming through and reminding us that we're part of a much bigger universe and that we have visitors, or whether it's the Age of Disclosure documentary, which is reminding us that there are other energies that may be present with us. Once we start to perceive the Earth within a galactic and universal framework, then civilization on Earth begins to look a little embarrassing in terms of how split we are with nation states and warring and capitalism and so on. From the gaze of a more enlightened galactic civilization, Earth looks pretty primitive. So as we start to see that ourselves and feel that ourselves, even with just the idea that there are other intelligent life in the universe, then we begin to see ourselves in a different way. So that's also part of a love emerging. But you could say this is more the cosmic Christ. So there's the individual Christ, or the love or the soul principle in the individual. There's the planetary, which we might call the animundi, which is not just for human, but includes the whole earth. And then there's the cosmic Christ, which is the principle of love in the universe being made manifest and expressed within one of its parts. And so that part is the earth as a whole. And so how do these deeper dimensions of love emerge? And one of the things that's part of the modern world is they emerge in fields. In the Christian stories, that those fields can be between humans. Whenever two or more of you are gathered in my name, there's a field, and that field invites the presence of this principle of love. And now we have global fields, we have internet, we have AI, we have these emerging fields of connection, of externalizing the global brain, of like connecting up humans with each other. And then if we bring that into presence, if we bring that into the holy, the sense of the sacred, the divine, then those are fields in which these greater levels of love can manifest themselves. So, the breaking forth of spontaneous, synchronistic love and synergy around the planet is as likely as the breaking forth of coronaviruses or the breaking forth of computer viruses. Like, love itself now has fields that it can manifest through. Humanity has never been so connected as it is, as well as the places where it's divided. And so love is able to use that field to manifest. And so if we understand a lot of what has been happening on the planet is the blocks to love are being lifted. Like, as love arrives, it puts pressure on anywhere that's not loving. And so catharsis happens, those things surface, and that period is still going to go on, for more time. There's more time of this crisis and catharsis, but within it, we should start to notice the love that is emerging, not just the patterns that are blocking love. We should start noticing the emergence of love. What does that look like? It starts to look like love breaking out instead of war breaking out. It starts to look like global unity starting to appear. It's like the global news, instead of like, oh yes, another terrible thing has happened, will start to be interspersed with, oh my God, an amazing thing has happened. Oh my God, some breakthroughs just happened. Some peace has been declared, some cooperation, so along with all of the upheavals, we'll start to notice those notes of green shoots emerging that actually are bringing a deeper and more unified sense of love, not only to the human family, but to the planet as a whole. The other thing that we should start to notice is what I'd call a planetary gnosis, a sense of being guided by deeper parts of our collective selves. Just as in the individual who's done their soul work, there's a sense of gnosis, a sense of like knowing that there is a deeper dimension of yourself that knows how to guide in times of crisis, that can feel which way to move. And so at a planetary level, as we start to synthesize, as humanity starts to become, aware of itself far more as a single organism, rather than like these disparate warring tribes, then we should begin to become aware of a planetary gnosis, like a guiding principle for humanity, a guiding principle for the earth, that there is intelligence, there is wisdom, that it's not just the wisdom of Gaia, but the wisdom of Uranus, the wisdom of Gaia and Uranus together, the wisdom of that which lives behind the earth as a principle that is working through it, beginning to like take an active role in human affairs. And what does that look like? It looks like increasing synchronicities, but it looks like crises that are starting to reveal like a wisdom that there is something about this particular crisis. Just like in your own, human individual crisis, you start to become aware of like the particular crisis that I'm having somehow seems very relevant to me. Like it's bringing up the issues inside me that I need to work with and I need to face in order to emerge more fully. So we start to have a sense of a greater intelligence behind some of the conflicts and tensions that we're experiencing globally. And then also behind that global intelligence that's making itself known to us is cosmic intelligence. So that expansion of our awareness into cosmos is such a great thing because even though it decentralizes us, it centralizes the fact that we are part of something greater and that we can learn how to be part of that thing that's greater. AI is another area that's going to bring, radical increased change, and to look again for the emergence of intelligence, not just in terms of like the downsides of we're all going to die of, these tech bros create, AGI, but intelligence itself is not just confined to humans, that whales have intelligence, mycelium networks have intelligence, galaxies have intelligence. How does that intelligence, when it's freed from the parochial designs of human beings, how does it begin to reveal itself? And what changes are happening globally? And already we're seeing, the negatives of like internet psychosis, AI psychosis, but we're also seeing tremendous development. And in a way, even the sycophant nature of ChatGPT has been useful because one of the things that most humans suffer most from is a lack of self-esteem. And so if they have an AI telling them that their thoughts are amazing and that like that's positive reinforcement that so many people need, it's just that as it develops, then just as a human as develops, first of all, it needs positive reinforcement, and then gradually it needs more challenge. And so maybe AI will develop that capacity, and whether it's programmed in or not, to be a more effective mirror for humans, so that we are challenged, to evolve. Because the thing about intelligence is that a lot of what humans are doing to each other and to the planet is just not intelligent. It's just not smart, let alone is it loving. So as intelligence begins to reflect back to us the ways in which we are behaving in unintelligent ways, then that puts the pressure on us to grow, and also puts the pressure on us to grow beyond our tribalism, our ideologies, our religions, and look at the intelligence of the whole ecosystem that we're part of. And so if we think about this time of emergence, it's where love and the scales of love and fear come into perfect balance. And then when the scales are balanced, a lot depends upon where you put your feather. Like your feather has tremendous power when you are in that state of balance. So 2025 is that state of balance, and we get to choose where to put our feather. And it's not that there is not still fear and reasons to fear. It's that we are choosing love in that time of emergent crisis and balance. So, for example, in the realm of AI, there are genuine fears that, if it could be used in ways that are very destructive for humanity, it could be used by military governments, it could be used by, capitalist agendas, and it could enslave us all. And all of those are very real fears, is not denying them. But at the same time, there is this tremendous love in humanity to progress and to sacrifice itself to the greater good and to want better lives for itself and others. And that is also a power. The power of the human spirit is also a power, as long as is the power of human greed. And the same with when we think of aliens and extraterrestrial, we can be in the fear of, well, they could come and destroy us with greater technology and greater intelligence, and in the same way that we have treated the animals and other creatures on our planet that are less intelligent than us in exploitive ways, we could be exploited. Yes, that's a very real fear. But there is also the other truth, which is that there is enormous generosity and love between species, humans and animals, have a tremendous bond. And there is the possibility that greater life and the intelligence that helps to unify Earth's civilization into one being might actually be helpful and loving and care about us and not want to intervene in ways that are harmful. And so it's almost like as we evolved into a species that knows how to center itself in love, then we'll be able to relax into our relationship not only with other species but with other civilizations. And that has got to do with where you put your feather. That's got to do with in a point of balance between fear and love, in a place where love is love for the wrong thing and hope is hope for the wrong thing. In that waiting and in that faith, do you put your feather on the side of it being a friendly universe or a hostile universe that requires you to protect you and your tribe at the expense of others? Or do you really find that place of faith and trust into the intelligence and the emergence? And I don't really mind whether somebody calls it God or whether they're agnostic and just think it's the mechanism of a universe that's obeying cosmic laws, or whether people have a sense of a personal savior or not. The loving intelligence that is part of our universe is pretty difficult to avoid, even with your mind. If you are the most scientific materialist, like the wonders of the way that creation works are overwhelming eventually to the human heart. There's a sense of wonder, a sense of awe, a sense of participating in something that is not just a mechanical universe, but is a flowering of something beautiful, a emergence of something that is creative and that can continue to produce more and more beautiful expressions of life. So that's where the faith is. The faith is in at the bottom of things, underneath things. Is there a matrix of love and intelligence that we exist within? So I want to leave you with that note of faith in 2025 and Christmas at this time of celebration of love, and the celebration of that love in a deep sense, in a personal sense with the individual and families, but also in the great sense of love of the planet and the planet in a loving, intelligent universe, and that all of that is emergent. So I'll finish with the end of that poem by T.S. Eliot, where he says, "And all shall be well, and all manner of things shall be well, when the tongues of flame are enfolded into the crowned knot of fire, and the fire and the rose are one."